Hi, and welcome to Female Entrepreneurs Magazine, your go-to platform for ambitious women who are ready to take the business world by storm. I'm your host, Angel France, and each week we'll dive into the latest strategies, stories, and success secrets from the most inspiring female entrepreneurs around the world. Today on The Real Female Entrepreneurs, we welcome a powerhouse sales coach teaching women how to sell with confidence without that pushy tactics that most sales coach try to get you to do. You know what? With decades of experience training brands like British Telecom, American Express, and Honda, plus she's created Sell Like a Woman. Sounds like we got that going on. A process that blends feminine energy with authentic connection. Her mission is to help you, the female entrepreneur, ditch that sales ickiness and master influence with ease. Get ready for a game-changing conversation with the amazing and fabulous Suzi Seddon. Welcome, Suzi.
Oh, thank you, Angel. I couldn't have said that better myself if I tried to rewrite it. Thank you so much. I'm really appreciative of that introduction.
I'm excited to have you here. We've been knowing each other for a few years now.
Yeah.
I love having my friends on. And and you always ditch that ickiness. I love how you say that. So tell me about how you got into being that woman to teach others to sell like a woman and not be like all pushy.
Well, of course, there's probably a man involved in this. So years and years ago, I went to work for a company, and it was a recruitment business. And I was one of only two women in a 27-man strong team. And at the time, the management just wanted you to sell in a particular way because men like to sell in a prescriptive way. They like a sort of fix it like, okay, point number one, tick. Point number two, tick. Point number three. Well, of course, I didn't do that, did I? I'm much more of a sort of get right in there, build a relationship, and the next thing I know, I'm with all these people who are selling in exactly the same way. And they've given me this dreadful sort of presenter pack thing, which is like a portfolio zip round thing. And you unzip it and then it's like dealing with a Rubik's Cube. So you then have to struggle with this thing. And it turns out to be a triangle. So it has some sort of file thing so that you put over these slides so that you can say what's on the slide. Then honestly, Angel, it was like so prescriptive. It was just awful. And my sales just absolutely dove into the floor. And, sales just basically ended up being a real pain. It's like, why can't I do this? I was doing this fine. And what's happened? Why can't I sell in this environment? Or anyway, so a friend of mine said to me, what's going on? And I said, I don't know. I'm not earning any money, whatever. And she said, look, out of anybody I know, you are the fastest person I know at making a relationship with people. It's got to be something to do with that. What are you doing? And you know what? It hit me like a bolt out of the blue. I realized that flipping presenter pack was to blame because what it interferes with is your natural flow. And what you've got to do in sales is just be yourself, be authentic, form a relationship, work out what's going on, find the pains, find the challenges, see if you've got a solution, serve. The rest is easy. It really is. So that was the first thing. I was working for people who kept trying to make me sell in a prescriptive way, and it doesn't work. And if anybody of the listeners are out there having the same sort of, that makes a lot of sense to me, then you might have to do a bit of a review on who you're working for or how you're working.
Yeah. So I remember those. I remember having the flip and you had to literally go through and go blah, blah, blah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It sounded like a robot. It was dreadful. So that was really what sort of inspired me to, I can do this better. I need to get away from this. And of course it took me years because there's imposter syndrome involved. It's like, how do I think I know this, that, and the other? And, you know, what we've all been up to. So, you know, if anybody's out there thinking, well, that's all very well for you, you sound uber confident and things, trust me when I say I wasn't. Trust me.
I understand because I mean, I get that all the time. Oh, Angel, you can do that. And I'm like, oh, I don't know, but I really can. But it's like what you said, it's the building of that relationships, but at how you as a woman, and each woman's individual, correct?
Correct.
And so their selling style is going to be a little bit different than somebody else's.
Exactly. And the trouble is, especially here in the UK, and I don't know whether this is the same in America or across the world, but um, a lot of people who do the sales coaching are guys,
Yeah.
and they can only teach the way a guy sells. In other words, the presenter pack, prescriptive, ABC 1, 2, 3 method. They don't have that nurturing piece. They don't understand it really. I mean, a few of them do, obviously. I mean, this is a generalization, but generally speaking, you know, this is unfortunately, Angel, where people think you have to be all super like, oh, you know, you want to do this before you miss it, and this, that, and the other. And coming out of a female mouth, it sounds icky, pushy, manipulative, and actually it sounds like you've just moved into being an alpha female, and nobody wants to buy from an alpha female.
No, they really don't. Even though they think they do, they really don't.
No, because there's a, you know, there's something that sometimes people find quite attractive about that. I get your gist there, but at some point it just goes a little bit too far, and it's just like, whoa, you know, I think I'll think about that, or whatever you're saying to them, and they'll back off real quick.
And that's what you do. You teach women how to sell like
Yeah,
them, not like a man, not like another woman, but you structure that specifically for them, correct?
yeah. I teach women 40 plus how to sell by having easy sales conversations that convert to sales without sounding icky, pushy, and manipulative. That's it. So I recommend that everybody has one of those descriptors ready to go. And if you haven't, that's the first thing you should be working on right now. Sorry, I've got an eyelash in my eye, so I'm not winking at you. But yeah, so and I think that's really valuable, because if you're in a networking event, if you're in a group of friends, if somebody says to you, Angel, what do? You can just fire up straight away. And then there's two things that happen. Either the person glazes over, as in, this is no interest to me whatsoever, or you just see their eyes start to lock with you and they go, interesting. And usually it comes with a little cock of the head, and then you think, okay, so then you can, that gives you license to add a little bit more. It's very interesting. It's softly, it's a bit of, you know, understanding the body language, understanding the signals, not just like ramming your information into somebody who doesn't want to know. Because nobody should have customers, prospects that turn into clients that have been press ganged into doing so. That is not a good idea.
Now, so what advice would you actually give to a woman who's trying to grow their business and just struggling a little bit?
um, well, I think I'd want to know a little bit about where the struggle is. So,
Mhm.
a lot of people get very focused on getting the sales, and actually they haven't done the foundation work. So what I mean by that is, um, you've really got to know who it is you're selling to. And people say, oh, I know that. Now, seriously, if you do the exercise properly on that, it takes you about 6 hours to do it. It's not a quick thing. You have to know everything from, where this group of people hang out, who, have they got kids? How are they married? You form an avatar of your person. And actually, for many of the listeners out there, there may be some 2 or 3 people at the moment that you've got top of head, and you're thinking, yeah, well, I know who it is. Do a bit more analysis on those 2 or 3 people. Jot down what the similarities are, and then look for more people like them. Facebook has a system which they, in the sort of marketing space of it, where you can look for your lookalike audience. So if you've got like 3 people who are excellent and you know who their profiles are, you can feed those into Facebook and say, find me more people like this, which is really good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of those tech things you teach as well that a lot of us don't know.
Well, trust me, I am not a tech head. I'm really not. I mean, I keep tech to a minimum. I really do. And you have to know in business what your non-negotiables are. And one of my non-negotiables are I don't run my own tech. Now, for everybody again out there might be saying, well, that's okay if you've got the money and whatever. But, you pick and choose, Angel. You pick and choose these things. So it might be that you don't like doing the sort of all the admin stuff, but you can cope with that. So you don't need a VA, a virtual assistant, but you might need somebody to run the tech on events or whatever you're doing, or what, I mean, it's obviously a broad question, but for what you need, you've got to work out what your next hire is, or whether you need a permanent hire, or whether you need, like I do, I just effectively bust somebody in to do the tech section for whatever it is that I'm doing. And it's usually a virtual live event.
And yeah, just figuring out where you want to spend your money.
Exactly.
That's it.
And you don't have to, I mean, I had a real perfectionist thing, which was like, I've got to have this, I've got to have that, I've got to have that. I've ditched all that now. That's a bit of silliness on my part. And really, I think much more clearly these days about, do I really need that? Do I really need that yet? Do I need a more sophisticated CRM system? Probably not. That sort of question. And then the day comes and you think, actually, I need a better system. And that's when you do. But I tended to go over the top too early. And then, of course, something new comes out and it's better and it's cheaper. And you think, crikey, that was a big mistake. So don't make that mistake, girls.
All right. What is one key strategy that has helped you advance your career? And maybe somebody said, hey, that's not going to work, but it did.
Recognizing my feminine superpower. I think a lot of us, as I say, especially when you've been, started your career in your sort of 20s or whatever, and it was a very male-focused world, there wasn't any space for my own creativity. I was kind of trapped in this sort of way to do things. And as soon as I broke out of that and became my personality, just me, then that's when everybody bought me and my sales just went stratospheric.
Oh, I like that word. We need to use that word more.
Stratospheric.
All right. So here's a personal question for the simple reason that I know we're most of us are dealing with this, not everybody. You're either dealing with small children, elderly parents, and so on. How do you balance the demands of advancing your career with the personal responsibilities you have?
Yeah, great question. For me, I never had children, but I do have a mum who's approaching 101 years old. So with that comes actually quite enormous responsibility. And there's usually a lot of sort of, oh, I don't feel well, and obviously you have to mobilize straight away if that's the case. So running my business online has really helped because it doesn't really matter. I deal in multiple time zones. here we are over the weekend recording this. That's fine. I've been to see my mum today, you know, excellent, you know, so I can run different things. So you have to really think about what you're facing and how you need to structure your life and how you need to run it rather than it runs you, I think is the thing. That's what I'd say about that.
Yeah. And you have the freedom, and you have to understand there's an ebb and flow. I call it the dance. So
Yeah.
you have to be able to maneuver. Yeah.
Yeah, well, you know, exactly. It gives you a little bit of flexibility. And that's what we all need because we don't, you know, things never happen conveniently, do they? I mean, if there's a bit of a crisis with my mum, I have to go. It doesn't matter what I'm doing. You know, my responsibility is to mobilize or at least organize my brother to mobilize if I'm doing something else. But yeah.
Yeah. Totally get that. Understand that 100% right now. So, knowing what you've learned right now in your career, what advice or tip would you have given, or would you go back and give your 18-year-old self?
I think probably to start my business earlier than I did.
Mm.
Um, there's a lot of years that I spent dancing to somebody else's tune, getting a bit frustrated about it, thinking I could do it a different way. And obviously, we all think we can do things better. And but I didn't do that, you know. And I think this is what we face as women. We're surrounded by people, whether it's spouses or partners, whether it's our mothers or our families, our friends, you know, and people say, well, why do you want to do that then? Why don't you just want to work for somebody else? You know, it's very interesting. So we're very lucky as female entrepreneurs because we all understand each other. And this is why it's so important to have a community of like-minded voices coming together to be supportive and to, you know, not only do we help each other, but we learn from each other
Mm.
because we are dialed into a much more positive future rather than we're all clucking on the sidelines saying, well, I don't know why you're bothering with that angel, you know, sort of thing, you know. So we need to understand it's the same journey for us all, and we all need a little bit of encouragement and gosh,
Mhm.
that's a great idea. And you know, to actually not making it up, but really getting behind each other and
Yeah.
helping with to block those potential arrows coming in.
That is a really good thought pattern, because that is a thing that we all need. We need that support
Yeah.
and that community to do that. I mean, we were talking earlier, let's be real, you know, and being real as an entrepreneur is saying, hey, things are just not going great, but it's going to get better,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Or has anybody got an idea? Or have we got a pivot? Or, you know, anything like that. And you know, two brains are better than one and 450 is better than one. You know, so we all need to get behind each other because we will all come across difficulties where we need the support of our female entrepreneur friends. We really do. We know
Mhm.
this.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
What about any future plans you have or goals you have that you want to share with us about? You had a book come out last
I did.
year. All right.
Yeah.
And the name of the book is?
Sell Like a Woman. It's down here. Where are we? It's down here on the shelf, actually.
Mhm. I
Um,
have it. It's a fabulous book. Oh my god.
Thank you, Angel.
Love it.
It's available on Amazon worldwide, so there for everybody. And of course, I didn't hold anything back. And I'll tell you a bit of an interesting story that you probably don't know, which is I am always revisiting my right fit client because over the time of a business, things do change a little bit. And you know, you work with people and you think, oh, so and so, so and so, so and so, they're great to work with. And then you've got this other person that's being a bit difficult or isn't quite a good fit. and you're thinking, how did I do that? And what many people make the mistake of, especially pertaining to the question you asked me before about advice for people starting out, is you do really need to know who you want to work with, because otherwise you chase money and you get a load of people who actually aren't right fit, and then they become really difficult for you to service as a customer of yours. So that's a real nugget to think about, really.
And you saying that just makes my chest palpitate, because I've had those clients.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, they're not the right fit person for me at all, and you get to that point.
Exactly. And then it's a case of, well, what do you do? And that's a whole other hot mess. So I was on a sunbed over in the Caribbean about 18 months ago, and I thought I wasn't going to do anything to do with work, and I decided I was going to take a journal. I hate journaling. Anyway, I took a journal over there, and I thought, right, I'm going to sort of, just while I'm here, just looking out to the ocean or whatever, just going to jot down some thoughts, just jot down a few thoughts about who my right fit client is today. Who do I really want to work with? That was the thing behind it. The end of the holiday, I had written 10,000 words, which was a bit of a surprise. And then the next week, after I got back from holiday, I went to a presentation and I met a book publisher, and she said, "Oh, where have you been? What have you been doing? Blah, blah, blah." And she said, "Oh my God," she said, "I want that book." I said, "Well, I haven't written a book. I've written a journal." And she said, "No, I'm a book publisher." So that's how Sell Like a Woman was born. Out of that, and it took me about another 8 months to get the other 20,000 words out. And it's like, like the whole of my system, and I'm not a normal sort of sales trainer. I go into values and belief systems, all sorts of things. I talk a lot about feminine energy and how you need to sort of, as a woman, weave that into your magnificence. I really believe that it's your secret sauce. And we all need plenty of secret sauce.
And each one of our secret sources are different.
Well, we all have different secret sauce. Mine won't be the same as yours. And that is effectively what people used to call your unique selling point.
Mm-hmm.
That's effectively what that boils down to. But, it's the way you are. I mean, I'm not a stuffy person, as you know. I mean, even the way we're chatting away and things, this is how I chat with prospects.
Yeah.
I'm no different, because I want people to really, open up to me. And if you can imagine, I'm like the Sherpa. So I've got my hand around their shoulder saying, okay, come this way. Let's think about this. Let's consider this. And they feel much more cosseted, much more cared for. Because let's face it, in today's world, very few people, especially in business, feel loved.
Right. They don't.
And even worse, not listened to.
And
so if you can, as a woman, as a female entrepreneur, if you can imbue your business with those sort of sentiments or whatever, then you will go far.
And going back to one thing you said, being a female entrepreneur, I mean, sometimes we're on an island by ourselves.
Yeah.
And so that love, no matter where it comes from, is the most important thing.
Well, you can imagine people come to everybody, whatever you're selling, they're trying to fix a problem, an issue, a pain, a challenge. So you've got to make it as easy as possible for them to share. It might be they've done something a little bit wrong, or they weren't quite dialed into the customer and they've tried to sell a load of stuff which hasn't sold because they didn't. You're not there to make them feel silly. You're there to sort of unpick the problem and maybe do a bit of troubleshooting. You are the expert, whoever you are out there, you are the expert in what you sell or do. And they have come to you because they believe you're going to be able to help them. And we all need to remember that. Nobody turns up at your door unless they think you can help them. It's a bit like somebody once said to me, and this is what that thought was around. I was going for a job somewhere years and years ago, and I said, "Oh, I can't do that." And they said they wouldn't have asked you for interview if they didn't think you could do the job. And I sat and thought about that for a while, and it's so right, isn't it? Really,
Mhm.
you
It
know,
is
I
true.
mean, you know, whether you were good enough or had enough skills is another matter, but they wouldn't have invited one to go for an interview unless they thought you could do the job. But otherwise it'd be just ridiculous. There'd be thousands of people queuing outside everywhere for jobs that they would never have a hope in getting.
Yeah.
Mm.
So future plans. What are
Yeah.
some future plans that you actually have that our
Um,
audience would be like, "Oh, yeah, that sounds fun."
okay, so I am soon to run a 3-day live event. I have actually the little workbook here, which I will share because I'm not sharing this with anybody because it only came yesterday. But this is my Sell Like a Woman live 3-day event playbook. And I'm not going to show you too much of
Don't show
this.
us
I'm
don't
going
show
to
us too
flick.
much.
Oh God, I can't flick through. But you know, I have 3 pillars, which are clarity, confidence, and conversion. So those are the 3 pillars of what I teach. And you know, if anything has resonated with you on hearing this, this is what I'm about. I've just thrown something on the floor. Yeah, and we talk about loads of things. It's a very interactive 3 days. I'll be doing quite a lot of talking, but there's going to be breakouts, there's going to be Q&A, and I'm even going to be doing some laser coaching. So if that's up your street, I will be giving Angel the link so that you can get on an early bird pricing for that, which will have quite a limited window for you to take that up. So when Angel pops that out, you know, if you've really fancy doing that with me, it'll be great fun. We'll be working through the workbook, and at the end of 3 days, you'll have it all contained in one place, and you'll know your plan for Monday.
Yeah,
Yay!
and I'll be honest with you, she's a lot of fun. So get ready, hold on, and just have a blast. It's like being on something with me. I mean, it just takes it to a new level. All right.
Yeah,
If you had
exactly.
a superpower for 24 hours, one day, what would it do?
Oh, heavens. You know what? I might become invisible because I can sneak around and have a look at things that people are not seeing me looking at. But other than that, I might actually want to fly. I think, you know, just being able to take off out of the window over there would be great.
And freedom, total freedom.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. What about one fact about you that not a lot of people know about?
Okay, so I guess the clues behind me, I have a bit of a mystical side, shall we say? And here, right on my desk, I have my very, very favorite crystal. It's effectively a crystal ball. Most crystal balls are just formed out of clear crystal. This one obviously is too. But the very, very interesting thing about this that makes it very, very, very special, and see if I can get it in the camera.
Ooh, it had
Can you
like an
see?
orange light. Now it's got like
Can you
there's a,
see? It's got 21 double terminated crystals floating around in it.
oh, wow. Yeah, you see
Can you
lots of
see they're
different,
just above my finger here?
yes.
Um, and that makes it a manifestation quartz. So if I want to manifest, I go to this.
I love that. And you say what you want, right?
Well, you know, I pull my energy to thinking about something more expansively. You know, anything that you put into your mind grows, as we know. So, you know, it's all of that sort of stuff. But it
Mm.
goes along with this, you know, this whole energy system thing. I've done quite a lot of work on energy systems, so all of that sort of stuff really, really, you know, interests me.
Oh, I
You know,
get
and
it.
I think the thing is when you're building relationships with people, You know, you've got so little time to make an impression these days, especially if you do things online. But,
Yeah.
you know, years ago, when I started my career off in my 20s, I was doing cold calling. And at the time, I got it down to doing a little statement like I'm Susie and I'm whatever, and a question for the person in 17 seconds. Now, today, it's about 8 that you've got. So if you're doing cold calling, you're taking longer than 8 seconds to get a little bit of information out with a decent question that gives you license to get to the next question, then, you know, people don't have the same patience, basically.
You've lost them.
Yeah.
It's gone.
Yeah. Because we've all trained to swipe left and whatever, you know, we're in
Oh, that's funny. I like, I don't like, I like, I don't like, I like that.
But that's it, and that's how people deal with phone calls and everything and cold calling, etc. So that's what you're doing. You're sort of trying to get out, it's Susie and I know Angel, have you blah blah blah. You know, it's literally that fast. But you've got to be really thinking hard about your questioning, and that's kind of my thing.
Yep. All right. Favorite book besides Selling Like a Woman, which is yours. What is your favorite book?
Well, I actually threw it on the floor earlier because I was thinking about that earlier. It's called Risk Forward. It's by Victoria Laban. And it's really interesting because if you're not sure about what you want to do or the direction you want to take, it's a very sort of thought-provoking collection of her thoughts, I think. I think she had a performing arts background. She talks, when I've seen her on talks, she's talked about, you know, if you love things like, I don't know, flower arranging or something, then bring that sort of thing into what you're talking about, because this is part of our secret sauce.
I love it. Well, I like dance, and I always bring up dance when we're
There
talking
you go,
about.
then. There you go. Exactly. So you know, again, we all have things that we love and stuff. And the thing is, when you're actually really enjoying yourself and there's a lot of enthusiasm in the air and things, it's not work, is it? It's play, it's fun, and people can feel that you really love what you do. That's the main thing. So you, by virtue of being that, you are showing up as your authentic self rather than trying to tell everybody you're having a lovely time, which just, well, we all know that doesn't work, but it doesn't stop quite a lot of people doing it.
All right. What are a song or songs that are your go-to moving groove?
I'm one of those useless people that never know the title to anything, but I do like pop music. So I just like something I can groove to. I like Caribbean music. I like Bollywood. You know, I've done a bit of Bollywood dancing. So that sort of thing, you know, where you can sort of get into. I quite like things where you can actually do a little routine.
And by the way, Bollywood, I love Bollywood. I love Bollywood movies and the romantic comedy movies. I love the Bollywood wedding dances. Oh my God, that's so much fun.
Yeah. No, it really is fun. So and I actually should do a bit more of it, I think. Maybe I'll bring that. Oh dear, that's not a good idea. I'm not sure we want to. I'm not sure the world's ready to see me doing, you know, shaking my tush or whatever.
All right. Your favorite quote?
Oh, it's an Albert Einstein quote. I think 99 times and find nothing. I swim in the silence and the truth comes to me. I think
Great quote.
that's just about where it's at.
Yep.
I think so much of the time we try and push our energy into, I've got to think of this and I've got to think of that and things. And sometimes if you just leave that gap, and sometimes you need meditation to do that, but you know, if you just leave the gap and you stare into the mid distance and you just, you know, when your eyes go slightly sort of out of focus and things, that's the area when things percolate and actually have a chance to come up to the top of your mind.
And that's probably what you did when you were in the Caribbean writing 10,000.
Yeah, it was. It was absolutely that. I was
Mhm.
just chewing my pen, looking sort of, feet are there, sort of whatever, and the oceans beyond. And I think that's how I ended up doing 10,000 words. There
Wow.
isn't any other reason for it. I wasn't thinking, right, I need to write 10,000 words. I'm doing journaling today. No, I didn't think that at all. It was just, I picked up, put it down, picked up, put it down. And that's what I turned up with, a book.
So how do you stay motivated?
I think when you love what you do, it's not a problem. I
Yeah.
think a lot of people either don't think enough about what they're about to do or embark on, or they just jump in, don't they? And I think you have to really think, the questions you asked me earlier about, how does that work in the format of the family or your other responsibilities? You've got to ask yourself all of those questions to make sure that you can create something that will fit your life. So, for example, all of my coaching I do virtually online. Obviously for one-to-one I meet people, but not if they're not in this country. So, you have to craft something that's going to really work for you. I wanted the ultimate time and money freedom formula. And for me, that was, if I've got a coaching session, maybe one of my mastery days or something, that it doesn't matter which continent I'm on. The internet is strong enough these days. You can get good connections and you can sit there. Well, hopefully not me in my bikini, but, obviously I can be sitting there and actually, run it from wherever. And I think that really is time and money freedom.
I think bikini's fine.
Not
Throw
with
a
my
cover up
husband.
if you want.
I
Throw
know,
a cover up on.
everybody be going, crikey, you think she wouldn't go on camera looking like that. But anyway, yeah, I haven't really got a body problem. I'm just jesting.
I know. I'm just joking. But I would put a cover up on too, because that's just who I am.
Oh yeah,
I'm a
no,
dude.
I seriously wouldn't do I dress normally for it, but the point is you just want to be, maybe in Rome or, in the Caribbean or anywhere else, Blackpool, maybe you don't, well, I don't know. I don't want to diss people from Blackpool, but, you can be anywhere and just run your business.
You can.
And that's the advantage to me of running it virtually.
Yeah. All right. How does our audience stay connected with you? And I think you have a giveaway too, don't you?
Yeah, well, actually, I put so if you go to at the Suzi Seddon, so TheSuziSeddon, that's on Instagram. And in the bio, I've put a little download on confidence, which you can have. And of course, I'll also be dropping a link to Angel to put beneath this podcast when we're ready to go on it, to my next 3-day event, the one with the booklet.
Exciting.
And
All
there'll
right.
be a special early bird offer against that because, I want to look after you all.
Thank you. All right. Is there anything else you want to share with our audience today?
Well, actually, I got out one of my cards earlier. I was thinking about, a thought to leave you with. So this is quite good. Build relationships, don't chase transactions. I'm all about the relationships. If you get the relationships right, then the transactions take care of themselves. I don't have to close anything. People come to me and say, Suzi, how do I work with you? That's what you want to.
Suzi, you are a rock star, but we know that. All right.
I appreciate it.
We love you so much. Thank you for being on here with us. Mwah. Appreciate it.
Anytime you want me back, I'm here.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right, love. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of Female Entrepreneurs Magazine. I hope you found inspiration, actionable tips, and a sense of connection with our incredible community of driven women. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, leave a review, and share the episode with fellow entrepreneurs who are ready to elevate their game. Remember, your success is just the beginning, and we're here to support you in every step of the way. Until next time, keep shining, keep thriving, and remember, you have the power to create the business and life of your dreams. Stay inspired, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.